What's up YouTube, Kristo here. Finally I have another video for you. Got a review. It's a pretty good one though, pretty special. I've been wanting to review this for quite a while. I'm going to be looking at Equipage from Hermès today. Now this one here is kind of special to me. This opened up a few doors to me. It kind of enlightened me on a few aspects of perfume that I had kind of written off prematurely, so to say, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the background on this one, this is a classic fragrance. This was made in 1970 by Guy Robert, who did a lot of classic fragrances in the 60s and 70s. He also did Dior's Dior Essence, as well as Gucci No. 1, and he did the original Calèche for Hermès in 1961. That's not the Kelly Calèche, the modern pink one, that's the classic from the 60s. He also did Madame and Monsieur Rocha, and those are all very classic fragrances from that period, 60s, 70s. This one absolutely belongs with them. They do keep good company together. Okay, now, why is this so important to me? Well, this is the first fragrance that really genuinely stood out to me in the kind of 60s, 70s, 80s men's frags. Before I tried this, I had kind of stereotyped everything as just boring and, actually I shouldn't even say boring, just overly complicated, and therefore actually ends up smelling like everything. So it is boring, but it's actually boring because there's just so many notes, everything ends up smelling the same. And I kind of written this one off as well. I basically picked it up because I got a really good price on a half-full tester of it, and when I got it in the mail I was really surprised by it. I was really blown away. As well, this was the first really predominant aldehyde note I had ever tried, and that really struck me as well. I wasn't really very interested in aldehydes. I thought it was kind of a fancy name for a synthetic water note, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So this one broke a lot of ground for me. Okay, now this one here is listed as an oriental fougere, which again, when I first got this, really confused me because the opening is very woody and very aldehydic, so I couldn't understand where the oriental fougere part came from. But now that I've used it and tested it quite a lot, I can definitely see it is in the middle. The middle is very much an oriental fougere. But again, I'll talk about that a bit later. Now, notes. Quite a lot of notes in here. Okay, in the top, we've got the aldehyde I was talking about. There's orange, clary sage, nutmeg flower, bergamot, Brazilian rosewood. In the mid, there's carnation, cinnamon, jasmine, lily of the valley, and pine needles. Then in the base, tonka, patchouli, musk, oak moss, vanilla, and vetiver. Now, to my nose, the most predominant notes are the aldehydes and the rosewood. In the opening, they are very strong, especially the rosewood. It really comes through in a very strong, very potent manner as well, very mature feeling as well, but they're very well done notes, so it's not a bad thing at all. And like I said, this definitely got me interested in aldehydes, and as well the rosewood note in this is so excellent. It's definitely made me start looking at more rosewood notes. Now, other than the opening, you do definitely pick up the herbs and the spices in the mid, and when it reaches the base, you can pick up kind of an earthy oak moss, vetiver base, patchouli as well. Bottle sizes, pretty standard bottle sizes here. We're looking at 50 and 100 mils. Mine here being 100 mil, probably about half full, 50 mil. Now prices, this one here is a funny one. I can't find any proof of this being discontinued, but it is very expensive, even for Hermès, even for high-end designers. It's quite pricey. The cheapest prices I could find for this were about $60 to $80 for a 50 mil, and probably about 90 to 120 for 100 mil. And even on discount sites and eBay and places like that, I couldn't really find 100 ml bottles for much less than $90. So it is quite pricey compared to other Hermès fragrances. You know, you can definitely luck out and pick up 100 ml bottles for 60, 70 bucks here and there, but this one, if you're gonna buy this, you're gonna have to be prepared to shell out, you know, at least 100 bucks to get a big boy here. So here's what I'm gonna do. Spray and opening, you guys know. I've got the dry down on this side, and I'm gonna give you a blast of the opening. Now, the opening on this is to die for. That is what made me fall in love with this fragrance. So that's it, I love it. I absolutely love the opening to this. The dry down, unfortunately, just really isn't that interesting. It does not live up to the utterly amazing opening on this. The opening is very woody, very masculine. It's got the really strong aldehyde note to it. It's amazing. It's so well done. It smells wonderfully synthetic, if you know what I mean. The thing is, the term synthetic often gets, you know, really negative stigmas attached to it, but synthetic isn't always that bad. Even very expensive natural smelling fragrances do usually have a lot of synthetic notes in them. But anyways, this is really, really amazing. I love the rose with the rosewood, and the aldehydes together go so perfectly. The kind of wet, woody feeling, stunning. But the problem is, the dry down is just so uninteresting. You can pick up the herbs and the spices, especially the cinnamon. You can pick up a bit of floral, but it's not that strong. There is jasmine, and you can definitely pick up a little bit of the carnation, but realistically, it's actually not that floral. I've read a few complaints from people that it is too floral in the middle, but I honestly don't see it being that offensive. Actually, what offends me about the middle is that it is so boring and does not live up to the amazing opening. So what does this make me think of? Well, it actually makes me think of a freshly oiled antique chest or cupboard. Like this grand old chest that would have been an heirloom passed down from, you know, generation to generation, and that's what it reminds me of, someone taking a blanket off and getting out, you know, like the wood oil and polishing it, and the opening at least. Totally what that makes me think of here. And the thing is, actually, I didn't really realize until I started doing my research that equipage is actually a term for a luxurious horse-drawn carriage. So I'm guessing that's what Hermès was going for here. Kind of, you know, nobility and, you know, upper class, you know, kind of 17th or 18th, 19th century, you know, on some romantic horse-drawn carriage ride. And, you know, when I read that, I was like, yeah, definitely I can think of that as well. Very classy, woody, masculine fragrance. Opening is just to die for. Okay, so the specs on this. Longevity, very good. I get very good longevity out of this, 7 to 8 hours. Unfortunately though, the opening only lasts for about an hour and a half, and that's really what I want from this fragrance. Even though I do get really good longevity out of this, when I do wear it, which isn't actually that often, to be honest, I do reapply this a lot just because I love the opening so much. Projection. Projection is really up and down. I guess I should say up and then down, really. In the opening, which is good, it's very strong. The projection is very, very strong. Actually very potent as well. If you spray too much of this on, you probably nauseate a few people. Or not that it's a bad smell, just that, you know, the really harsh rosewood would really be a strong thing, especially if you wore this in the summer. But when it dries down, it stays really close to the skin. Even though it does last for a while, it does become a skin scent that you can only smell it immediately around your skin. But that's the thing, the opening is what I love on this. So the opening has great projection, so I'm happy. Now, season, I've already kind of talked about that. This is better for the cooler months, fall or winter, perhaps even the spring. The strong rosewood in the opening and the spice and the herbs in the mid, I think, would be good for the cooler weather. I do think it would work well in the spring, like I mentioned, but definitely too heavy for the summer, which is one of the reasons I don't wear this too often. The heat just exacerbates the rosewood and just makes it really cloying. If you like cloying, perhaps this would be right up your alley for the summer. But for me, I like this perhaps on a day like this when it's a little gray and dreary out. Occasion, this one, totally formal, smart, casual, work scent. And when I say work, I don't mean like a desk jockey. I mean, kind of a middle-aged guy who's, higher end of the ladder. This would be a very good work fragrance. Very powerful, very strong, very classy as well. Age, already mentioned that a bit. I'm definitely going to say 30 plus on this. I'm sure there are guys out there who are under 30 who would be into this, but for the most part, I don't see many guys under 30 digging this. It is very strong and it is very masculine, not sweet at all. Even with a bit of cinnamon in the mid, still not that sweet. Ideally though, I see this as a 40 plus fragrance because it is very mature, it's very refined, and yeah, I just can't see guys wearing this under the age of 30. Now, what is good about this fragrance? Well, there's a lot of good things about this. I think this has one of the best woody notes in a designer I've ever tried. The Brazilian rosewood in here is absolutely fantastic. In the opening, it's just showcased perfectly. The aldehyde complements it just stunningly. It's excellent. It's absolutely excellent. The aldehyde as well. If you like aldehydes and you've never tried this, you absolutely must. I highly recommend it. It's classy. It's sophisticated. It's not dated at all, but it was made, 1970, 40 some years ago. And it definitely still has a classic feel as well. Like I said, even though it doesn't feel dated. This is high quality, without a doubt. This is worthy of the Hermès name, no question. It lives up to it. I think this is really well made. It has great development and transitions. Just unfortunately, I'm not really too big on the mid and the base of this fragrance. As well, if you are someone who's a bit put off by pre-90s fragrances like I was before, I think this might make a good entrance point into those kind of classic 60s, 70s, 80s fragrances. Now, what's bad about this? Well, first of all, if you don't like strong woody fragrances, you're probably not going to like this. If you don't like aldehydes, you're probably not going to like this. If you're not into mature scents, if you like your sweet stuff or you like kind of flowery, happy poppy stuff, probably not going to be into this one as well. Also, I do have to say the mid is so disappointing compared to how phenomenal the opening is. The mid just really isn't that interesting. It really is just like a generic fougere mid. I don't want to be snobby or anything, but for how amazing the opening is, it's not worthy, really, it's not. Other than that, the price tag. The price tag is quite high, even for an Hermès fragrance. 100 ml for $100 plus, yeah, you're getting up into niche prices there. Is this niche quality? Perhaps, that's for you to decide. but yeah, it still is quite expensive. Recommended, who would I recommend this for? I would definitely recommend this as a great introduction into aldehydes and rosewood. I should say into woods and rosewood more specifically. If you're a younger guy and you're into your kind of sweet orientals and gourmands and stuff, and you're trying to look into something more masculine, more mature, I think this would be a very good place to start. And as well, if you are into classic men's perfume and vintages, there is a really cool vintage bottle of this around. Mine is one of the more recent packages, formulations, but it's still pretty damn good stuff. So Equipage from Hermès, highly recommended. The opening is fantastic. I'd recommend just carrying a little decant and reapplying every hour or hour and a half, because for me, I don't know, the mid and the base are really forgettable, and the opening is just phenomenal. Anyways, there you go, guys. Leave some comments, let me know what you think if you've tried Equipage. Fantastic fragrance, very overlooked from Hermès. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you again really soon, I promise.